Most people believe that the difference between those who get healthy and those who don't comes down to one simple thing: motivation. Typically, they think successful people wake up inspired. They think fit people feel like exercising every day. They think disciplined people are somehow wired differently. But what if I told you motivation is actually one of the least reliable tools for long-term health? What if the real secret behind lifelong fitness isn't motivation at all, but something far simpler and far more powerful? And what if believing in motivation is actually one of the biggest lies keeping people from reaching their potential? Today on the Personalized Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. As always, I'm Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness, and I'm here to talk about health, fitness, longevity, and how to push back against what I call the lie of age. That idea that decline is inevitable simply because time passes on a calendar. At Personal Edge Fitness, we believe something very different. We believe the truth. We know your ability is determined by fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset, which are actually the four components of ability. And your ability is not determined by the number of candles on your cake. If you ever want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. In fact, we get a lot of our best ideas for podcasts on our call line and also on email and what have you. So here's how to get in touch with us. You can contact us via our website, personaledgefitness.com. Feel free to email me, Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. Also, you can call the podcast line, which is 251-278-3343. You can also follow us on the Personal Edge Fitness Facebook page, where we post our podcast episodes every single week. And today we're going to tackle something that almost everyone believes, but very few people actually understand. That's motivation. This is what I call the myth of motivation. When someone decides to get healthy, the first thing they usually say is, I just need to get motivated. Many times when people are calling up interested in working with us and they're calling up to set a consult, they'll almost always give me that line. I just don't have the motivation. I need to get motivated. But here's the problem. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are temporary. No one is motivated every day. Not athletes, not Olympians, not even trainers. If motivation were required for success, almost no one would succeed. As always, I'm going to back this stuff up with research. The very interesting study from Stanford University looked at what researchers called temptation building and habit formation. The researchers found that people who relied on systems and routines rather than emotional motivation were far more likely to maintain exercise habits long term. In other words, people who wait to feel motivated often never start. But people who build systems keep going. Another study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology examined habit formation and found that developing a consistent routine, like exercising at the same time each day, creates automatic behavior over time. Now, on average, it takes 21 days to create a habit. To really make it automatic, it takes about 60 days, and for it to become a lifestyle change, it takes 90 days. Not motivation, habit. Now, let me show you what I see in the real world. After more than 30 years in the fitness industry, I can tell you something very clearly. The most successful clients I have ever trained were not the most motivated. In fact, many of them started out with very little motivation. What they had instead was structure. They scheduled their workouts. They showed up even when they didn't feel like it, and they built habits. And once those habits formed, motivation became completely irrelevant. The real secret here is systems. Motivation says, I'll exercise when I feel like it. Systems say, I exercise Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 o'clock. Now, one of those requires emotion. And you know as well as I do, that can swing daily. It can swing on the hour. It can swing minute to minute. Systems say structure. One requires motion, the other requires structure. That's why the personalized fitness model works. At Personalized Fitness, one of the biggest reasons we avoid contracts is because pressure creates resistance. Instead, we focus on consistency. We focus on routine. And as important as those two, we focus on gradual improvement. And what happens is absolutely remarkable. People who never thought of themselves as motivated, I'll give you a tip, don't think of themselves as motivated on a daily basis when they come in here. They end up exercising for years and many, many times decades. They didn't wait to get motivated because, again, motivation is an emotion. Motivation is fleeting. Habits, they're durable. And systems are absolutely powerful. The other thing about that I'd like to point out, and this kind of goes hand in hand, I've talked about this before in the episode we did on habits, but keep in mind, obviously, when I have somebody come in for a consult, first thing they're going to share with me typically is their physical goal. Many times the first thing they tell me, or one of the first things they tell me, is their age. It's interesting because I never ask. They'll tell me their physical goal. And if you think about weight loss, 72% of our clients come to us for general fitness and weight loss. You think about weight loss, it's usually going to be a magic number. You know, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. If it's not that, it's, hey, I want to get my legs stronger. Or I want to, a myriad of different physical goals. Well, obviously, we would all like that to happen overnight. I'd like that to happen in the first workout. Don't get me wrong. And as I say many times, what we do here are wonders. We don't do miracles. We don't profess to do miracles. But going back to this habit and talk about these simple changes, this gradual improvement, this is what's so powerful about that. When we share that with our clients, we're not talking about, we're not trying to downplay, okay, we're not going to do this fast. We don't want to slow you down. We're not downplaying the desire to have it come quickly. What we're trying to do is we're trying to instill a longevity in your success. You've probably seen this before. You may have done it before. If you've done some sort of crash diet or some kind of, very short-term radical change, and you've seen at the end of that change, well, you've seen this incredible improvement. Great, but how often does it stick? Be honest. How often does it actually stick? And this is what I was talking about, that with this amazing thing that happens about first, let's build the systems so we can build the habits. Because in that gradual change, in that slow change, you don't stress the body as much. The body doesn't have to make a radical change. The body can handle gradual changes, and it makes it more sense to the head, and therefore it ends up sticking as far as the body's concerned. If you're wanting that emotion of, okay, but I want that physical change, I want to feel it, I know I'll be quote-unquote motivated after I feel that physical change. Well, here's the physical change. This is the emotion that you're looking for. This is that mental part. Instead of once I hit a physical change, I'll feel the motivation. This is that mental part that is actually the success you're looking for. Some of you may have worked out on a regular basis, and something I think you'll agree on. And if you haven't, this is what happens with our clients. Rarely do you regret doing the workout after the workout's done. Rarely does it have somebody regret walking out of a facility, finishing an online session, finishing an at-home session, and wishing they hadn't done that. Quite the opposite happens. They feel great about themselves. They are so glad that they did that workout. It is a daily win. And that's what provides the quote-unquote emotional boost you're looking for. That emotional quote-unquote motivation. Because you want that win now every day. That's the change you should look for. And that comes from developing that system and building those habits. Again, motivation is fleeting. Habits are durable. And systems are powerful. If you wait until you feel inspired to change your life, you may wait forever. But if you build a system that supports healthy behavior, those changes become automatic. And that's just one more way we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining me today. Certainly hope you'll join me next time.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.
Did you know only 22% of 8th graders are proficient in civics? It's a statistic that affects all our futures. But Alabama's Liberty Learning Foundation is changing the headlines. We partner with schools to go beyond the textbook, teaching civics, character, and financial literacy in a way that empowers students to make a real impact in their own communities. Help Liberty Learning Foundation build the leaders Alabama needs. Join the movement today at libertylearning.org.